What's up, everybody? Welcome to the High Level Husband Podcast. I'm Tommy McCollister, joined by Diane McCollister.
Hello.
And so, guys, we're starting a multi-series podcast series on this, and it's basically on a Christian masterclass on intimacy, and each different section will be on different topics. And today we are talking about the do's and do nots of intimacy and also sex. This one's primarily on sex. There'll be some times ones about like other aspects of intimacy, but this was straight into sex on this one, babe. Give the people what they want.
Yeah.
And so the first do not in this is do not weaponize sex. And this one's a dangerous one in so many ways because obviously it can go both ways. This might surprise some guys that guys will weaponize sex as well. That was like a bigger eye opener as we really started, over the years growing in this industry, was how often it is that it's the women that want sex and the men won't give it up.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was as much as it was.
Right. It's an actual big thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes both ways. But weaponizing sex, first and foremost, destroys trust because using sex as a way to control or punish someone breaks down their emotional safety and connection in so many different ways. Because it's meant to be beautiful, it's meant to be bonding, it's meant to be growing in all those aspects. And so when you use it as a weapon, it destroys that aspect of it. Obviously, sex gets removed for multiple different reasons. Lack of leadership, lack of emotional intimacy, all these other aspects of attraction in it. That's what this is not about. But when you turn it to an actual weapon, it will ruin so many aspects of it because it's there to make a marriage be a benefit to the marriage. It's not everything. The line we've always used is sex is a very small part of marriage, but remove it and it becomes a very big part of marriage.
Right. Which is so true. And it is an important part of marriage, not just because we enjoy sex, which most people do if they're having sex, but it is true. Like when it gets removed, it becomes such a bigger piece that's missing, and it's just a way of connecting and stuff. And people don't realize like how important it is for other reasons, not just for pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the pleasure aspect of it, but I think that that's the best part about it for me is the connection in just different areas. I love connecting with you. I mean, we connect in so many different areas of life, but that's one of those aspects, and it's a nice benefit.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of, and this is guys, I'm gonna call you out on this. A lot of men, that's their only way they try to connect. And so what becomes very dangerous, if that's the only area that you're connecting with your wife, it will get removed by her because you need to connect in those other areas. It's like, I guess it's like in life where they say you need to have multiple streams of revenue. So if your one area of revenue goes away, you're not even worried about it because you have the other 4 streams.
Right.
It's the same thing in marriage, that there will be ebbs and flows of certain things. And so if one gets removed, well, sex should never get removed, but let's just say something does happen. It's now you're not only way, like let's say your wife has some serious illness and literally it can't happen. Well, now you're screwed because you haven't built up any of those other areas in it. So but that's a whole nother topic. It creates resentment in so many different ways. Instead of building intimacy, it fuels bitterness and division, making physical connection feel transactional in that. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm going to use this as a weapon. I'm going to punish you and I'm going to remove it because of that. So it starts becoming transactional in different ways.
Right.
And resentment in marriage is such a key thing. I was in Job. I was reading in the book of Job the other day, and it was talking about how resentment will destroy a house. And when a house is caused by chaos, it then bleeds down into the kids. And it's such a true statement, which is the book of Job, which is the earliest manuscript in all of the whole Bible. And it's talking about resentment. But here we are. It's so true today still on what that does. And that's what will happen if you start using sex as a weapon.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of times where women, well, I think it really goes both ways, but it does becomes transactional. It's like one of them does something nice for the other person, so they feel like they need to do something for them. I guess that would be more of a reward.
Yeah, I mean, so it goes into that. I mean, they kind of are similar, though, is weaponizing and reward system are very similar. So we're going to talk about both of them. But in this particular one, like the next one goes, it's like flips God's design for marriage around, right? Like sex is meant to be bonding experience, not a bargaining chip.
Right.
And that's when it gets like crazy with it. Withholding for leverage is a misuse of its purpose, right? It'd be like this. And I don't want to hear no BS from nobody on this saying, well, it's different. It would be like this if somebody was the breadwinner in the family and they said, I'm holding out my money on you unless you do X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not cool.
No, it's
That
messed
would
up.
be jacked up.
Yeah.
But the same thing happens with intimacy
Mm-hmm.
in those areas, because that is a part of marriage, just as finances are a part of marriage as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so damages long-term desire. When sex is weaponized, it shifts from the act of love to the source of power struggles, leading to a long-term disinterest and avoidance. When you use it that way now, you may still be having sex or you may not be, but later on it'll totally kill it, because it should be getting better, not be getting worse in all those ways.
Yeah, I mean, and it can do. It can do so much damage, and not just damage for the present time. People don't realize like how long some of that damage can last, like a lifetime in a marriage.
Yeah, because we talked to so many couples and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
but for so many years you did X, Y, and
Right,
Z.
like 20 years. I've been hurt and damaged from this for 20 years of weaponizing sex, or
Right.
having to go bad like that.
Or there was a season of it
Mm-hmm.
was used as rewards
Yeah.
or weaponizing. And today they're still paying for that because the one
Mm-hmm.
spouse still sees it as that.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like in regular life. I mean, yes, this is regular life, but just in general, people say, oh, well, I had a childhood trauma or this really happened. And because of that, they're still paying the price for it now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can work through all of that stuff just
Right.
as you can within the marriage as well with those things. But this is that we're telling you right now, stop it if you're doing that as a reward, as a weaponizing those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the reward system comes into the same thing, I've heard this from spouses who are like, oh, well, he's been a good boy, so he's going to get rewarded.
Right.
And it's like, it's cool to be able to see more desire for that. And it's like you're already having an abundance of sex and you're like, man, I'm like even more because I'm just loving my husband so much more or my wife so much more. That's one thing. That's not a reward.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's like, okay, you do X, Y, and Z and I'll do X, Y, and Z for
Right.
you in the
Yeah.
bedroom.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of expectation from men on that too. So I feel like more so on the men's side than the women's side, where men do something nice, they clean the house, they buy flowers, they do something like that, and they feel like, oh, I should get sex in return. Like, oh, I'm doing these nice things for my wife, or I'm helping, I'm doing chores and stuff, and I should, she should be sleeping with me because of that.
And that's so dangerous as well, is
Right.
because a lot of wives think that that's what they want. We've talked about that. Is like, if you help with you would get more sex if you helped out around the house. Well, now you're saying it's a reward system.
Yeah.
And then B, a lot of husbands did that and it didn't happen. Yeah, that might have happened once or twice, but then after a while they're like, oh, I'm just not attracted to my husband.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like,
or I'm not attracted to myself,
It goes both ways. And so
For sure.
attraction isn't, guys, always just physical looks.
Right.
That's a part of it.
Oh, yeah.
But attraction is also in your leadership, in your spiritual life, the way you talk, the way you love, the way you serve, the way you love on your children, how you love on community, what you do, and all these other things. That's a huge part of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
But in it's more than just physical looks.
Mm-hmm.
And usually most couples got attracted to each other in the beginning because of the looks, and then all the other stuff is what the stuff that keeps it together. Don't ever give up your looks on it to anybody, because that is an important part as
Right.
well.
Absolutely.
Because it kills masculine leadership if you start using sex as a reward system. A man should not feel like he has to earn intimacy for simply being a good husband. It should be a natural result of deep connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just like I was saying earlier, it's like they think they should be doing something, they're doing something nice and they should get a reward, and it crushes it.
It really does, because it creates emotional distance as well on all of that.
Yeah.
It's just was straight 100% transactional in all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after a while, nobody wants to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not this bonding experience. What makes me want to come back for more with you is if you just laid there and you were like lifeless, and you were basically like, all right, let's get this over with.
Mm-hmm.
After a while, that'd be like, well, this sucks.
Right.
Ain't all that great.
Fun.
You want somebody to be attracted to you. You want them to give it back. You want to see you be pleasuring them pleasuring you. They're enjoying it. It's passionate. That makes it fun. I'm not a teenage boy who just trying to get off.
Right. Yeah. Let's just do this and get it over with, kind of thing,
Right. And so then it kills the intimacy part of it, because it is just a transaction. And then it's like, then you're doing these rewards and you do those things and then she doesn't give it to you. Then it builds up even more frustration, even more resentment, and then more distance. And then in your arguments, you guys start arguing and then you throw it in their face because you said, if you did this and this and this, I would get this, this, and this. And then they'll say, well, you said you do this, this, and this, and you didn't do this, this, and this. And then it's he said, she said, blame game on all of it. Do not use sex as a reward system. Do not use sex as a weaponizing and to punish somebody, removing it from them, their life. It's like when their kids do something bad and you take away their video games.
Right. Except for this is a much bigger picture and it does way more damage.
Right. Is you just remove something that is so bonding. This is where you have to talk about things.
Yeah.
This is where that comes into play in such a huge part of it.
Right. Communication. You have to be able to talk about these things. If for some reason you don't want to have sex with your partner, instead of just withholding it, talk about it.
Well,
talk about why.
This is where it comes into like the final point, which is basically never remove intimacy in general from your relationship. Because if you remove intimacy, there will be temptation in other places, right? Because especially if there's frustration and resentment and discouragement, that what you're doing is now you're putting the other person's not even, I guess this is going to be tough to say, but they're going to look at the other person as like they're mad at them. And so fooling around on them with whether that's with porn or anything else, or maybe with something else, becomes less of a negative thing because they look at their spouse and they're thinking, this person lies to me, they weaponize sex, they remove it, they use a reward system, screw them,
right?
All these other things.
The guilt isn't as strong.
Yeah, because they're like, you know what?
Forget them.
You know what? This is my punishment for them.
Right.
And now that's never justified. None of this is ever justified. But cheating on your wife, even if she's weaponizing it or punishing you, is never justified. I don't care if she hasn't slept with you in 20 years. It's never justified. This is on you for not being attractive enough for 20 years or talking about it or fixing those things and putting in the work to do it. And you may just be lost on how to actually do that. But it totally increases temptation. I talked about this in the last podcast. Flesh gives birth to flesh. This is in John 3, and spirit gives birth to spirit. Well, so now your wife's holding it from you. So maybe you start turning to masturbation. Then you start turning to watching porn. Then you start turning to DMing somebody. Then you start turning to flirting with the girls at work. Like the flesh just keeps giving into the next fleshly thing.
Right.
And it just grows and grows and grows and grows. That gets started because of the breakdown in these other things in life. There's do's and do nots about those things. There's a reason why that you don't use them as weapons and reward systems. It should just naturally happen,
right?
But never out of, if you do this, you get this, or I'm going to punish you, so I'm going to remove this, because it will tempt your partner to go into the other direction.
Right. And even if it doesn't turn to like infidelity and it just turns to like masturbation, but then that removes that person from the whole sexual act. So, and I know we've talked about this plenty of times before, but so say a man is, the woman's stopped having sex with him. He goes and he just masturbates instead. Well, that's breaking that connection so far past beyond the point that now she's hurt because he's taking care of himself. And he's like, I don't care because I'm taking care of myself. So I don't even need you anymore, which is the whole point of sex in the first place, is that connection together.
Right. And so I don't want to make this all about like masturbation or anything like that, right? But that destroys marriages because it's like, I was talking about this with somebody earlier today, is that, for the time of the month when you're on your period, that week gives us a break from sex. Right. But by the time you're done, the anticipation has built up. Then that moment is even more special when we have sex because the passion is there and all of that.
Right.
Then that bleeds into a better marriage and better conversation. We want to go back for more. But if I'm just taking care of myself every day and that desire is going away because I'm just masturbating all the time, well, now I'm not going to pursue you. I'm not going to touch you. Right. I'm not going to do anything like that. Well, then the devil's going to play with that in your head. Is he cheating on me? I bet he's masturbating. He's not attracted to me anymore. That's going to kill your self-worth and confidence. Then you're going to be snappy at me because your self-worth and confidence is low.
Yeah. What's wrong with me?
But it's going to come across venom at me.
Right.
Even if you don't know that I'm doing that, it's going to come across. Well, then I'm not going to be attracted to you. And it's just going to put this wall more and more and more and more between it. all stemming from looking at sex as a bargaining chip, as a transaction, as if you do this, you'll get this, as a weapon and all these things. And that's when it becomes extremely, extremely dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in life can be good or bad. Money, good. Money, bad. Sex, good. Sex, bad. Right? Like everything in life is pretty much has the opposite of it, right? Use this for what it's intended to be used, to draw each other together. But when you look at it as like, well, I know he enjoys this, so I'm going to remove it from him. That's jacked up. That's so jacked up.
God didn't intend sex to be removed from marriage unless there's some kind of serious problem.
Right. And so that's the figuring out, why is it this way? This is where you both have to be adults and talk about it without arguing, without yelling, without being mad because it's gotten to this point, and sitting down and saying, being vulnerable and being real. If this is a man saying, I'll take ownership for getting here because I did not lead well enough to fix whatever's going on in here. I may or may not have been the initial cause, but the way I reacted to it is my ownership. And because of that, I am going to take ownership for this. What has happened for us to get into this spot here, babe? I know this is how I'm feeling, and this is not accusations to you. This is how I feel, and I'm really curious how you feel.
Right.
And asking them that and talking. I don't want to talk about this. Well, then you still continue to talk about it. If they go away, you have to keep bringing it up day in and day out until the person actually talks about it. Because if you just then be like, well, screw you then, and then you wait another month and try to talk about it again, they know if they just say, I don't want to talk about it, that you'll go away for a month.
Right.
But if you keep talking about it, solutions will happen.
Right. It just shows the immaturity of a lot of people, where the maturity is emotionally, when they just put it off, and they don't end up having conversations about it. It's very immature.
It's immature, but I will say it's understandable, but not acceptable.
Right.
It's understandable because having hard conversations is way harder than doing most things in life. Like jumping out of an airplane, skydiving, easier than having hard conversations for most people. And I've talked about this with a lot of men who have a hard time praying over their wives. And they say, and I'll use the analogy, I'd be like, dude, so many men would way rather take off all their clothes and run naked down their street than pray over their wife. And I've had most men go, dude, 100%, bro. Like it's so uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable because it's so impactful, because you actually care, because actually fixing this would grow it. So the devil's going to try to stop you. There's so much importance in this that it feels heavy.
Right. And if, especially if it's a couple that doesn't have vulnerable conversations, then that's pretty much what that is. You're having a conversation with God about being vulnerable, and so if the couple aren't being vulnerable with each other, then it's going to be harder to pray for the other person too. So
right. But this goes for the conversation about intimacy, right? Like you've got to be able to have that talks about it, and you need to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. I remember when, like, for a long time, we always had a decent sex life, but I think over time, back in the day, we didn't really talk about it a lot. Years and years ago, we never really talked about it, but we just always kept it consistent, or somewhat consistent. But then I remember a turning point at some point some years ago where we did start to talk about it. And it was hard at first. It was kind of awkward and weird to like have these conversations, and it wasn't because either of us were withholding anything from each other, but it was just talking about having conversation around it, and it is a kind of awkward. So for the people out there that aren't talking about it, it's not going to come easy the first handful of times or whatever, but you do have to have those conversations.
Yeah. Because if you don't, you're just going to stay the same.
Yeah. Or it's going to get worse.
Life is always about doing hard things. Every single day is about doing something that's hard. Jesus says, to be my disciple, you must pick up your cross and follow me. Isn't that what we're all called to be, as his disciple?
Yeah.
So if you want to be his disciple, you have to pick up your cross. He didn't say pick up your bag of money, pick up your lollipop. He said pick up your cross. It's hard. But the cool thing about that, he knows, is growth comes with all of the hard things. We laid in bed for like an hour last night, talked about the thorns in each of our lives and how God's using them to grow us and all these other things. And it's cool, but that comes through having a thorn in our side. That comes through a cross that we have to carry, and it grows us and makes us better. And when you become better, It's the line I always use, is that my wife had sex with 12 different men last year and I had sex with 12 different women last year, because those crosses that we carry force us to do hard things, and forcing us to do hard things keeps us growing. And one of those things is conversations. It's not easy. It was like early on in my coaching years, like I had a hard time calling people out because my thorn is I had desire to be liked by other people and feel significant. So I didn't want to have them not like me by calling them out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I'm like one of the boldest people I know. I had to push in and do it. Well, guess what's happening? Insane result after insane result after insane result
Mm-hmm.
after insane result. I have to call them out on it, or I have to challenge somebody. With you, we do those same things as well.
Right. It's needed sometimes, even if it's hard, it's needed. You have to have those hard conversations.
And if you don't, you stay the same. And if you stay the same, you're dying.
Yeah.
And if you're dying, then it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to change the marriage, you have to have these conversations. Just had that talk with somebody yesterday, and I challenged him. I said, tonight, you have to have this conversation with your wife. And it wasn't about sex. It was just about vulnerable stuff in their relationship, about him, how he's dropped the ball as kind of a passive, docile man. And so he did it. And his wife was like, okay, well, how are you going to do that? And then he was in the deer in the headlights and was quiet for 30 minutes. She's like, well, do you have any thoughts? And he didn't. So she got up and left.
Mm.
Well, that's the reason where I told him, I'm like, you have to have this plan of what you're going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Tell her to take the ownership, then tell her practical and tactical things that you're going to do, and then do them. You have to know what to talk about. You can't just be like, well, we need to talk about sex. Well, you have to have a game plan of like, how are you personally going to be better?
Right.
Because if you just come to the conversation being like, babe, you're not having sex with me and we need to start having it because it's an important part of marriage, and I listened to this podcast and they said you can't do these things that you're doing, good luck. She gonna kick you in your face and tell you to get out of here. But if you come with ownership, if you come with practical and tactical steps, how you're going to love and show up better as a husband and have deeper conversations and do all these other things of how you can be better,
Mm-hmm.
connection before correction.
Right.
Then ask where she feels like that would benefit her life and how could we start working towards having a better intimate life. But you have to start with what you're going to do and taking ownership to be able to do it. But if you just come in and say, I'm just not happy with our sex life and it needs to change, it's not going to go well.
No, it's not.
You have to be able to present it with connection and at first of ownership and what you're going to do.
Right.
And then do those things.
Yeah.
That's the key thing.
Absolutely.
See it, feel it, or see it, hear it, feel it. She needs to see those things. She needs to hear those things. She needs to feel those things. If she just hears those things, she will never feel those things. She needs to see those things, hear those things, and feel those things.
That's good.
On every single time. Get it to that spot. The point of this whole episode was do not weaponize sex, and do not use it as a reward system, and do not ever remove it from a marriage, because you remove that, you remove intimacy, and it goes away. Now, if it gets removed because you guys are both older or whatever reasons happened or illnesses and things like that, that's a different story. We're talking about two very capable people, and this is like 90% of marriages.
Right.
So don't come up with no BS about, well, I have a thyroid issue and all these other things. Don't come with none of that weak BS with me.
God's bigger than any of that.
We've proved it time and time again wrong. Don't come up, she's in menopause or all this other BS. Don't come at me with none of that weak stuff. I serve a God that's bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you believe in God, you serve the same God.
Right.
I see God as bigger than that. Well, why? Because I've done hard things every single day. Find out.
Right. Challenges might come in your relationship, but it doesn't mean that you can't still work through them. That's 100%. The whole point of communicating about it. So,
guys, we're going to stop there on this one, on these things, but we're going to probably do this as a 4 to 5 part series. We're going to do on porn and toys. We're going to do one on initiation. We're going to be doing plenty of different topics on it. And it's going to get deep. It's going to get raw. It's going to get TMI and all of that stuff. But this is for a Christian perspective, because a lot of Christians, they give Diane and me, hey, Christians can't talk about this type of stuff. Yo, God created it, homie. I hate to tell you that. And this is where it's at. And so guess what? You know why the Christian church is in the place that lukewarm, docile men like you got khakis up to your belly button, eat donuts and drink coffee, and you don't even know what the power of God is. And we bring in this real raw stuff, masculine leadership. I got the spirit of Caleb and Joshua, and I'm bringing the truth. And no more of you weak, docile men out there who are holding the kingdom back. Sorry, I had to get that in at the end. I love y'all. God bless you. Much love. And if you want coaching, click the link below. If you think this is a good podcast, rate it 5 stars. And if you are on YouTube, please give us a subscribe and follow. Love y'all.
Bye.